I'm Nick Christians, and this is Adam Thoms. We're from Iowa State University. We're going to be talking today about tall fescue, and specifically about a trial we have going on here with tall fescue at fairway height. Now, if you're familiar with tall fescue, that's probably kind of surprising to you. Tall fescue is a very coarse textured bunch grass. It may have some short rhizomes, but it's basically a non-spreading bunch grass. Very coarse textured. We often think of it as a weed in Kentucky bluegrass. In fact, many of you have fairways where you have patches of tall fescue, the very coarse types, and they are a weed. However, in the last 25 to 30 years, there's been a lot of work on breeding and selection on tall fescue and many improvements in them. This is a tall fescue as well. However, it is one of the finer textured turf type tall fescues that are quite successful in this climatic zone on lawns. They mow much better than the old type. They don't form the coarse clumps and give us the problems that we've had with tall fescue in the past. Now, there's been more work more recently into very fine textured tall fescues. That is a tall fescue on the right that we're mowing at fairway height. And that, to me, that's an amazing thing. I think of tall fescue as this, but this is what tall fescue has become. But can it be a fairway grass? And that's the question we're going to deal with today.
So as we alluded to earlier, we're going to talk about tall fescue fairways. This is something that more and more superintendents in Iowa are interested in. Obviously, there's a lot of benefits to tall fescue. You use a little bit less water, a little bit different concerns with diseases. And so we're starting to see some superintendents play around with it. Shade tolerance is another thing tall fescue has, over Kentucky bluegrass and over creeping bentgrass. So tall fescue has a lot of perks as a potential grass for fairways. So here's our tall fescue sample from our fairway. This was seeded last September. It's maintained at 4/10 of an inch, and our best seeding rate was 12 pounds of seed per 1,000 square feet. Our seed mixture was a 93% tall fescue, 7% Kentucky bluegrass. And it came in very well, came up quickly like you would expect with tall fescue, and we saw fairly good coverage. Now, I will tell you that the density takes a little while to build in the fescue fairways, and that's something to think about. As far as diseases go, the real benefit here is that our creeping bentgrass fairways saw a lot of dollar spot disease pressure. Our tall fescue fairways never see this disease pressure. So the benefits there are very good. Tall fescue fairways, though, do need to be watched carefully for brown patch, and that can be problematic if you are not, on proper spray programs for that or maintaining environmental conditions to try to limit that. Let's also visit about the quality of cut. One of the things that really stands out or was concerning when we were thinking about tall fescue fairways was how well does it cut? We're used to seeing tall fescue fairways or tall fescue grass in general having a very poor quality of cut. It's kind of a stringy cut. The ends oftentimes, have that brown coloring. It's not a very good quality of cut. A lot of times that's due to the rotary mower, but also, how coarse textured this grass is. When kept and maintained with a fairway mower, with that reel mower, we see a very good quality of cut. One of the things that we've seen in the past is, a lot of times our creeping bentgrass fairways, or even our Kentucky bluegrass fairways, they start to show that the reels need backlapping or maintenance on the bed knives, things like that, a little sooner than our tall fescue fairways. And so this gives you a little bit longer stretch between maintenance as well with these tall fescue fairways. It's not quite as noticeable when you need to do the maintenance to the reels.
So the question is, do tall fescues make sense for Midwestern superintendents as a fairway grass? If you'd have asked me a year ago, I would have said no. I don't think that's going to work out. However, Adam's trial this year has been quite successful, and it's been very impressive, particularly this fall, that these newer varieties of tall fescue can adapt to 0.4 inches mowing height, and they hold up very well during the summer heat stress period, and they're doing quite well into the fall. We will have to look at winter damage and that sort of thing, so we're not ready to say, yes, use tall fescues yet, but the potential is definitely there. We'll keep you posted in the future.